All right, welcome to the next episode of Undeniable. I'm Michael Franklin, the founder of Words Normalize Behavior. We're an executive communications agency who work with leaders who are meeting the moment. And we have this series because we want to spotlight leaders who are doing the work and are undeniable in their excellence. And I am really excited about this conversation I get to have with a good friend of mine, Hidayah Cummings, who we went to college together at Howard.
Yes.
We were on the Humtata, the Howard University mock trial team, and the Howard University speech and debate team together. And I'm so excited just to let y'all learn more about Hidayah's work and some of the great things she's accomplishing. Hidayah, how you living?
I'm good. It's so good to be here. It's so crazy that we're having this moment together post grad. But I'm excited to be here and be in conversation with you.
Right? Like, again, it's so fun. Like, how's CBC Week treating you so far?
CBC Week. So funny story. I was feeling very nostalgic because the last time I was in the convention center, I was 17. And I'm like, I don't know why I was determined to be here freshman week and like just bopping around, having no idea
Freshman
what's
week?
going on. Like not freshman week, but like freshman year.
Okay, I was going
Like
to
literally,
say
because
freshman
like
week.
it's like the first month of school, and I'm like, oh, let me go to CBC week. No idea what I was getting myself into, but I feel much more prepared. Already had a lot of good conversations, and just been in rooms that I've always aspired to be in. So it's been a good week.
I know that's right. And I was talking to, there's some Howard students who are doing like interviews and stuff around the convention center too.
Oh,
And
really?
where it's just so cool seeing the baby bison get the opportunity to
Yes.
like chat and just meet with so many leaders who are out here. Because
Yes.
this space is full of just incredible people doing incredible work. And being in community, especially in a time like this, is so important.
Exactly. I couldn't have said that better myself. And I think how it really equips you to feel confident that you can be in those types of rooms.
Mhm.
And that confidence, I think, just only grows. You just get more bolder in your aspirations of where you dare to step into rooms at.
No, literally. Now, again, it's wild. It's been 4 years since we've graduated.
4 years.
And-
Crazy. We're old.
You know, no, I was on campus a few months ago and I did like a speaking thing for some students and they were like, oh, your class of 21, you're old, Howard. And I was like, what? But you've been doing so much incredible work since our time at Howard, like law school, a whole grown lawyer now.
Lawyer,
And now, and you founded an organization, Lawyer. And I want you to just tell me in the audience a little bit about like what is the work of Lawyer and like what drove you to found the organization.
Absolutely. So Lawyer is a digital first community that was really built out of my own experience becoming a lawyer myself. So I navigated the whole process entirely by myself as a first generation low income student, and kind of really defeated the odds in terms of my admission chances in gaining admission at Yale Law School, which is where I graduated from. And to make a very long story short, essentially the community started from me documenting my journey online when I was a pre-law student through law school. And eventually I realized, I'm actually like hosting events, editing people's essays, like also encouraging folks to redefine what professionalism is, like doing all of these really huge things. And when I was in interviews for post-grad jobs, I realized like, this is maybe not a little hobby anymore. Like it's not like just an Instagram thing, but a real organization that I had built unknowingly, and a real community that I had built unknowingly. And so when I graduated from law school, I decided to found Lawyer, which is dedicated to really just redefining what it means to be a woman in the law, while also to providing tangible resources to increase the table of other women lawyers who can show up across different fields every day.
And like, I just love also like you telling your story, like using your platform, using your agency clearly resonated with tens of thousands of people, and now you're able to really give that visibility back and being able to help folks have a better and more inclusive experience getting to law school too.
Absolutely. It is very, very surreal to know, like I get DMs all the time from people who are like, oh my God, like you inspired me to apply to the school, or like shoot my shot, or you inspire me to like wear whatever I want. Like in school, like people listening to my random car rants about how like law school is and sometimes can be like an extra arm of racism, and figuring out how to combat that as a Black woman while still keeping like your sense of professionalism. And so it's been a very rewarding journey to be able to learn publicly, and also other people to learn from my own mistakes, and I guess things maybe that I didn't make mistakes from.
See, and how big is the community now with Lawyer?
So right now, I think we're about 70,000 across platforms.
Sheesh.
Yes, we've grown a lot. So we've grown a lot this past summer. We started a podcast called Becoming Lawyer, where we interview deans of admissions at law schools across the country. We're also in the mix of starting our brand ambassadorship program. So we'll have brand ambassadors at college campuses across the country doing events, and have a soon to be launched Her network. So that's just to say that we do a lot of like real tangible work that I think translates to folks wanting to follow along and being part of the journey, which I'm grateful for.
No, that's incredible. And just thinking about like the process of law school, like I took the LSAT, but then did not go.
I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Like I took the LSAT and was like, oh, that's wild. I don't think I ever want to do that again. And then
I took it 3 times.
Ooh.
Officially. Practice test countless, but officially 3 times. Yes.
And I just remember telling myself, I'm like, I'm making money doing this communications work. And like, I was a legal communications major.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've got the language down and like I understand it tangibly. So I just get to work with a bunch of dope lawyers now, like yourself.
And I love that. I always tell people, like, for one, law school will always be there.
Mhm.
2, if you want to go to law school, of course, I'm going to be the first person to tell you to go to law school. But I'm also going to be the first person to tell you need to know that you want to go to law school.
Mhm.
It's honestly the 3 hardest years of my entire life. And you have to really want it. I think also interesting about the work that I get to do is I also get to talk to a lot of lawyers and learn about their journey. And one of the exciting things I've found both in learning from them, but also in just crafting my own journey is that, you make this commitment to become a lawyer and like, oh my God, like what if I hate practicing? And I've learned that there's so many ways to use your JD. Like I never would have imagined I would have started like a nonprofit organization at the same time as being a civil rights lawyer. And there's just so much more that I dream of for myself. And so that's just to say that like, yeah, I think there's a lot of cool ways that people can intersect in the legal profession without necessarily even being a lawyer.
Right. And talk to me about being a Gen Z civil rights lawyer. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like right now?
Oh boy. I have a lot of hot takes about that, but I'll save them. I guess I would suffice to say that we are in devastating times. Truly, truly, truly devastating times. I came to law school as an organizer, right? Like being on the streets, being with community. And I've talked, and now to my inner circle of other fellow Gen Z lawyers, and a lot of us are like, feel like we've lost a little bit of our fight now that we know how much we're up against and how much it was built to design almost intentionally not to help us proceed. And I think now actually being a civil rights lawyer, it is both rewarding to be able to do tangible work in my own community that I'm from and like see those small changes that are being made. But I would not be completely honest if I didn't say that I don't often think about what more we could be doing, how more creative we should be about lawyering, like using other skills or avenues outside of the courtroom to effectuate change, especially considering the state of our federal judiciary. So I would say as a Gen Z lawyer, it's really, my position is one of what more can we be doing and how can we be doing it differently rather than believing in this like status quo or one way of doing things. Because I just think the moment that we live in demands that of us.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that we think about how we're redesigning like institutions and starting our own institutions too. And like the way you started Her, because there wasn't something that was existing to be in service of folks, especially women getting into law.
Exactly.
And we always have these organizations or we have things that are designed against us, just fundamentally. How are you just thinking towards the future and like what's the optimal circumstances that you wish to be able to operate in?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, when I think about the future and the optimal circumstances, I'm looking at the millionaires in our community, particularly like Black celebrities, because we are up against not only like the most evil people that have ever come to exist, but people who have long, deep rooted pockets behind them. And so we can't, in the progressive spaces, continue to just rely on like just for one, even small donor dollars or even the typical folks that we usually get our funds for. If we want to create something big, a new center that thinks differently, that isn't beholden to, some sayers like who are millionaires in themselves, we have to have the money to fund our work individually. And so whenever I think about like the future I want to live in, it is one where I am supported by someone who says, I want a better world. I want it to look differently. And I can trust you to do that thing. That is the word that I think about.
I know that's right. Talk to me about just like, what are your goals in terms of just building community and continuing to expand Her? Like, what are some of the exciting things coming up?
Yeah. So for one, my long-term goal, maybe even a near future goal that I think is for Lawyer to really become the number one resource for anyone interested in the legal profession, but for particularly for women. If we're to Google, like, how do I get into law school? How do I become a lawyer? I aspire for Lawyer to be one of the first search engines. Additionally to that, our big goal is changing the narrative about what it means to be a lawyer, what it looks like, what it means to support one. And to that, I think it comes into connecting with other the media. Honestly, the media loves a lawyer, from How to Get Away with Murder to Scandal to Legally Blonde, to there's so many different franchises every year that come out about lawyers and the life of being a lawyer. And I would love to see more partnerships with those TV shows, movies, those franchises, giving back to women lawyers who are actually doing the work in real life. Your audience members who are inspired by the work you do. I would love to see more partnerships. But in the more immediate future, we are working on launching the first ever network for women interested in legal profession called the Lawyer Network. I always tell people, imagine if it's like LinkedIn and Reddit had a baby, because the LinkedIn part is like you can search the directory, like, oh, maybe I want to find a lawyer who practices in St. Louis, who does civil rights work and went to XYZ school. You could do that, but you could also build communities. So there's forums to ask all of those questions that you may be too scared to ask in the Reddit chat because they're going to say you're like a DEI emitter or whatever. It is going to be a safe space for people to both cultivate community, to learn from our resources, but also to connect with one another.
No, I love that. And especially like there's so many different connections to be made, from the geographic connections to the type of law being practiced.
Exactly.
To schools
and it does not exist. Like, there's nothing like this at all, exclusively for lawyers to just be able to connect, like lawyers, pre-law students, and law students, all to find a space to both connect, learn, and just grow in community with one another.
And the building community is so important, because when you're able to connect and learn and having folks be top of mind and being able to share resources, where there's so many opportunities that come up. And it's something that I found to be so meaningful with speechwriters of color as well, is where you'll meet all these people, but I can't take on like every project, or I might not have the expertise for something, but I have a great group of folks that I'm able to refer them to. And like I can see that being like just incredible.
No, exactly. I always tell people selfishly, so we have a podcast called Becoming Lawyer, and the first season was just for interviewing admissions officers, right? But in the latter seasons, the part that I'm most excited for is to interview other women who are a part of this profession. And like, I think we're gonna have many dope conversations that challenge the ways that people see themselves as a lawyer. But selfishly, I'm excited because I get to connect with really amazing people and learn from them, and like add to my network in the same way that you said. Like, it really is, like, we are in the positions now where like people are asking us for help. Like, they're asking like, oh, who can I go to for this? Like, what support can I have? And when we grow our community, we're able to give back in a more tangible way to other folks who need our help as well, which is really cool.
No, I love that. And so I know we're about to wrap. And so one question I ask all of our guests are, how are you undeniable in your excellence?
Ooh, I feel like I am undeniable in my excellence because of God's favor on my life. That's really it. There's no other type of favor. I jokingly have in my bio like God's favorite, and I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. Like, each of you all can be God's favorite, but in my own life, I have seen His goodness, and so many things in my life have only happened because of His favor, and I try to honor and remember that everywhere I go.
I know that's right. So, Hadea, it was so great
to
get to talk to you. Like, this is just, it's so fun. Like, look at us.
Look at us here, living it up.
Truly. Thank you for joining this episode of Undeniable. Hadea Cummings and Lawyer, like the incredible organization supporting women in law. And we're so excited to have been able to record these at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference, where we're getting to see excellence and we're able to work with leaders who are meeting the moment. Thanks so much for having us. And until next time.
Bye.